G'day mates! In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the huge new update that just dropped, including what's going on with these new gyroscope controls. Is this a massive buff to controller, and why are some pros and people in the community saying it is basically aimbot for controller? How does it work, and should you be using it? Also, we just had the console FNCS get announced with a $250,000 prize pool. I'll be breaking down all the details, when is it and how it all works at the end of today's video. And also, we got some huge new update changes to how launch pads are going to work, as well as armored walls, a Spider-Man nerf, and some changes to the vault and coolers. There's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Before we get into talking about the console Champions Cup or console FNCS and these new gyro controls for controller that everyone's freaking out about, those topics are a bit longer. I want to open up with the changes that we got in the update that take a little bit less time to explain. So first off, a huge change that I'm so happy about. We've all been asking for a really long time now. Basically, since the armored walls got put into competitive, armored walls no longer drop in airdrops. So that means you can still get armored walls from floor spawns, but airdrops are going to be a 100% chance of getting a launch pad once again. This is an amazing change for the game. The launch pads in the game just felt like honestly more than gold. They felt like diamonds or something crazy. You could never find launch pads in the game, and because no one had them, you could never recycle them and use them. So it pretty much felt like, especially in solos, if you didn't have a vehicle, or you didn't have Spider-Man, or you didn't have your own pad, which let's be honest, you never did, and you got an opposite half or first rotating, you pretty much just had to use 1500 mats or die. Now there's more launch pads in the game. There'll be more chance that you find them, and there'll be more chance that your enemies have them, so you can recycle them. It is back to a 100% chance of getting launch pads from airdrops. I love this change. Second up, cooler spawn rate has now been reduced to 75%. Previously, if there was a cooler spawn, it would spawn every single time, 100% of the time. And I kind of like this change. I don't like adding more RNG to the game, but right now, the coolers are pretty broken in certain areas. I think a better change would have just been taking out the coolers in the more broken areas, rather than giving them RNG on the spawn rate, like Covert Cavern and Chonkers. I mean, you guys have seen Chonkers. Teams walk away with like 18 splashes each, like 30 plus splashes to themselves out of that drop spot. Instead of making it a 75% spawn, so some of the other areas of the map, like around the lakes, where I really love finding the coolers if, you know, I'm a little bit shambles after a spawn fight, or I'm rotating, I need to find a bit more loot. Instead of now having them be RNG where they maybe aren't there, I feel like just tone down the spawns in the area where it's too strong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, but I just don't like adding more RNG to the game. It's the same reason why I still really want 100% chest spawns. The other one is the covert vault has now been nerfed. I believe this is also in line with the new launch pad change. Instead of having 4 airdrops in the vault right now, there are only 2. And instead of having, I think, 4 of the vaults for gold, there are now only 2. It's not that significant of a change. The drop is still super busted. And with the guaranteed launch pad from the airdrops now, instead of having 4 airdrops, we usually got maybe 1 pad and 3 armored walls. Now you're guaranteed 2 launch pads. So really, overall, Covert Cavern, in my opinion, is almost coming out stronger. They also added 6 shield barrels in there, which is just great for competitive to get more shield in case you get tagged up while you're going into the vault. But there's so much loot and shield in the vault anyway. Didn't really change that much, but hey, it's a little bit of an update. They're trying to go in the right direction. The point bug is finally fixed. If you know what I mean by the point bug, basically it is the fact that points would not display correctly in game. How many times have you tried to watch streamers like Oliver OG, Muzz, Scoped gets it sometimes, ALFN gets it all the time? Their points aren't displaying. They have like 150, but it resets to 0 every single game, so you don't know how many points they're on. Somerset's another great example. Some accounts had this all the time. It made watching tournaments, or if you're a player who gets it, so frustrating. For me, doing viewing parties, especially replay mode, remember, Duo Cash Cup today and FNCS starts this week, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. I got you with all the viewing parties. It was so hard to follow. I'd be watching solo Cash Cup finals. I don't know who's in first because the person in first is showing they're on 0 points, even though they're not. I don't know who won at the end of the tournament because the points aren't displaying. It was a nightmare. They have fixed it. Thank you, Epic. It is going to make viewing parties so much better. Also, you may have noticed they took out the title screen when you load into Fortnite now. When you first load in, you don't select Battle Royale, Creative, or Save the World anymore. They just have normal. You go straight into Fortnite, and then if you want to play Save the World, you have to now discover it through the regular Discovery tab for all the other games. It just speeds up the loading time a little bit. Not a huge change, but hey, I mean, if it gets me into the game a little bit faster, why not? Now, also, Spider-Man no longer resets in competitive. So before, previously, Spider-Man has now been been nerfed to 20 uses, but if you eliminate someone in arena or tournaments, they drop a 20 use Spider-Man every single time. Now it drops with how many uses they had. So this is a big nerf to Spider-Man yet again. And it's one that I'm not super happy about. Let me explain my thoughts. I do understand Spider-Man is very, very strong. I'm happy it's been nerfed, but right now this new change means that the players who get it, the players who drop on it, have even more of an advantage, and the players who don't get it are now at a disadvantage, because previously, if you didn't get Spider-Man, but you were smart about taking a fight endgame with someone who had one, eliminating them and stealing theirs, you got a max use Spider-Man. It was really, really reliable, and it was balanced where if you didn't get one on spawn, you could still play well and get it endgame where its strength is obviously at its highest. Now you kill someone endgame who has one, they drop 2 uses because they've used it all endgame, and you didn't really gain anything. So I don't know how to feel about it. It's a big nerf to Spider-Man, and I do think Spider-Man is really, really strong, but I think it's just further buffed the people who have it, and it's made it even worse for people who don't have it, which is already really bad right now. Some players going so far as to say if I don't have Spider-Man, there's no point playing solos, but those are the major changes in the update outside of these new gyro controls for the controller and the console FNCS, which I'll explain now. All right, now let's talk about the new update that has so many people freaking out, the gyroscope controls in Fortnite. What are they and what do they actually do? So now, if you have a controller that has gyroscopic abilities, basically what that means is it has the ability where if you move the controller, it registers that movement. You can now play Fortnite using that. And that might sound pretty bad, like why would anyone want that? But there's already been some pretty crazy ways people are using this. We have Sticks, an NA East pro, who realized if you turn this on where it only affects when you ADS, when you hold left trigger, you can then point your controller down just ever so slightly and you get 0 recoil on the MK7. Let me show you exactly him actually demonstrating how ridiculous this is.
Can you explain? Sure. So how gyro works, right? Hold your controller. When you move like this, that's how gyro works. So if I'm here, correct, and I'm like this, if I have it on a different setting, it's gonna move, but if I push in my aim button, that's when the gyro turns on. So it's not on until I push that aim button in. So what I'm doing right now is I'm aiming with my right stick like usual, right? So I'm aiming with this, and I'm holding the controller down when I shoot. So if I shoot and I hold it down, there's no recoil. Just 0 recoil, bro. Literally 0 recoil. Actually ridiculous, man. Actually ridiculous. Does not make sense. But that's how I'm doing it right now. Wow. Yeah, if you guys play on controller, definitely gonna have to try this out, bro.
As you can see, this does look pretty ridiculous. So let me talk through the rest of it. They've actually added so much functionality for this. If you go to the touch and motion section of your Fortnite settings, you can see how much there is. There is gyro aiming on or off, active mode combat, active mode building, look stick effect. This is all the different settings. So you can have it where it's on all the time, so you're always moving and it can look around for you and you can aim with it. You can turn it on so it only affects when you scope, like you saw Sticks doing there. You can have the sensitivity of it, the vertical horizontal ratio, steady acceleration, flick stick, which is insane. Flick stick is basically the ability where you can flick your stick and you'll instantly turn around and do a 180, or you'll instantly turn to the right. It's really snappy, like faster than you could possibly ever do it on a regular controller or mouse and keyboard. And then you have advanced gyro options. So Epic actually released an entire video demonstrating everything about how this works. I'm just gonna have it playing here in the background so you can kind of see the effects of moving the controller and aiming with it. But what are the actual practical uses of this, and is it broken? Is it cheating like some people are calling it? So first off, the main application I can see is the one that Sticks discovered there. The fact that you can pretty much get 0 recoil on a controller by tilting down on the controller. Outside of that, everything else, like actually having this on all the time and using it to move and aim and edit, I don't think it's that strong. I feel like some people could find some pretty cool uses for the flick stick and get pretty crazy with it. I don't want to rule this out and say that it's not going to be good until some crazy crackhead kid comes along and proves me that it's the most insane thing ever. But overall, right now, without having to relearn the entire way you play the game, I think pretty much just that recoil reduction is the only real change. It is worth pointing out though, while you have the gyro controls engaged, so whether you're ADSing or whether you have it on all the time, you get no aim assist. And not enough people are talking about this because everyone's freaking out that it's cheating, it's the most broken thing ever. If you have no aim assist, that's probably worse than anything you're going to gain. The only thing is when you're ADSing, you already get very little aim aim assist these days, at least on PC. Console, you get a little bit more. So when you're using the MK7, maybe having no recoil but no aim assist is stronger than having aim assist with recoil, but that's up to you guys to decide as players. As for the rest of the settings, I can't imagine it is going to be good enough where losing aim assist is going to be worth it, but someone will come along and make it look absolutely crazy, I am sure. Also, can everyone do it? No. You have to have a controller that actually has the ability to turn gyroscope on. That is the PS4 and PS5 controllers and some scuff controllers. You might be asking, why not Xbox, man? Epic's hating on Xbox. First there's PlayStation tournaments, now Xbox controllers don't get this. It's because the Xbox controller literally does not have the physical mechanics inside the controller to do this. On PS5 and PlayStation, you can play games where you can turn the controller and do crazy things. They have gyroscopic abilities enabled. Xbox just decided not to. So it's not Epic's fault that you bought a controller or you bought a console that doesn't have this ability. But again, don't freak out. I really don't think it's going to be that insanely strong, but I needed to defend Epic on that one because I've seen a lot of Xbox people really mad. On that note as well, I'm seeing a lot of hate towards Epic for not giving Xbox players tournaments. You've got to remember, the reason PlayStation are getting so many tournaments is because Sony is putting up that prize money and Sony is running tournaments. It's not that Epic is just giving PlayStation tournaments, it's just because Microsoft isn't giving them to you on Xbox. They're not putting up the money. So you have to be mad at Microsoft, not Epic. But I do understand console players in general should still be upset they're not getting a lot of tournaments right now, but you are getting the Console Champions Cup, a $250,000 console FNCS. So let's jump into talking about all the details on that one. The Console Champions Cup is now in-game in the Compete tab. It's also on Fortnite Tracker, but there is no blog post for it. But don't worry, it's pretty far away. It's actually taking place halfway through March. It's on the 18th and 19th of March, so over a month away. You've got plenty of time to prepare, don't worry. Like I said, it's a $250,000 prize pool. I don't have the full rules just yet, like whether it's region locked or any of that stuff, but what I do know is it's going to be 3 rounds. It's going to take place exactly like FNCS. It is going to be for anyone who is in Champions Division or higher to be able to play the Opens round. From that Opens round, we'll go to top 400. This is in EU and NA East. And then from the top 400, the top 50 will make it through to round 3, which will be the set lobbies. Instead of like FNCS, where it's going to be multiple days for the finals, only going to be 1 day of 6 matches. So you have 3 hours, 10 games to get top 400. Then you have 3 hours, 10 games to get top 50. Then you go into finals. Whoever places what gets the money in 6 games. Now, for EU, the prize pool is pretty crazy. It looks like Epic is starting to move more and more towards what I've been talking about for a while now, and having the prize money spread a little bit more thin. First place is going to walk away with 6,000, second's going to get 5,500, third's going to get 5,000, fourth's going to get 4,000, etc., all the way down, and then anyone who competes on EU in the finals will walk away with $350. So they're not just doing like, you know, 30,000 for first and then you only get money if you're top 10. They're really spreading that prize money thin, but you do have to get to a set lobby. You're going to have to get top 50 in your region. If you go to NA East though, not everyone is going to get money. You have to get top 45. The bottom 5 teams on NA East aren't going to get money. So obviously the smaller regions, that's going to become less and less and less, but still it's $250,000, which I'm really excited about. Again, I know it's hard as a console community not to get upset with the lack of tournaments. A lot of you guys keep asking for this and I keep saying it over and over again, hoping someone Epic will listen. It's not even so much about the prize money. You guys just want more tournaments to verse other console players to gauge your skill. You just want to verse other console players without having to verse people on 360 hertz. I get it. I fully understand, but at least you do have one big tournament coming up. It does only last 3 rounds and 2 days, but it's going to be exciting. As always, I'm going to do viewing parties for it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to gas up the console community because I love you guys. I still think you guys should be getting more, but at the same time, it's a good start. You have another Console Champions Cup, another Console FNCS this season as well. I know a lot of you guys were hoping for and waiting for my FNCS predictions and drop map video. Don't worry, I saw you all in the comments in yesterday's video. It is coming. I've been preparing it. I've reached out to a bunch of people in the community to get all the details together. I've broken down people's placements. I'm going all out on this video and it's going to come out tomorrow because FNCS is starting in 2 days. I want to make tomorrow's video breaking that down and talking about the Duo Cash Cup finals. And because this was such a massive update, I really want to include all the details from that today. So don't worry, I did hear you guys in the comments. The video's coming tomorrow. I promise. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.